Okay, good evening. We're starting today on the home page where we see here the vendors, the customers, and employees. If you recall, last time we only had access to limited options in employees. We had maybe enter time, we could do timesheets, and I think there was another option here. But now we actually have the option of pay employees and pay liabilities. Paying employees is actually cutting them a check, and pay liabilities is paying the taxes that is due when you pay an employee. Like in a company, you have the Social Security and the Medicare. Those are payroll liabilities, because in addition to actually paying them the salary which you take home, the employer also has to add another like 7.5%. Additional liability is that he has to withhold from the employee's check about 7.5%. So there are two liabilities: the part which he withholds from the employee, and the part that is called a FICA match, when he matches what's withheld from the employee. I didn't go through all the steps last time about how to activate. I left it up to people's imagination. The payroll, for those who didn't, try to follow along your best today. But I'll just tell you verbally, when you go to employees, there's many more options here. Even paying employees is also payroll tax forms. Those all get, those extra menu items only come after we activate payroll. What was there is there was a activate T-sheets, there was on the payroll center, there was something to activate. One of the menus here sent you to activate payroll. And when you activate it, it will give you many options what type of payroll you wanted. I made a little clip just going through the steps. I could share that also with this other video in this class. But I stopped, obviously, when it comes to the credit card information. What I tell people, what I did was I just took the lowest offer for the payroll. That means that if it's basic, $20 at $16 if you pay annually, it costs $20 a month. It's still free for the first month. It's just when you sign up, they're hoping they're going to forget to cancel, and they'll get you a month out of it. So it is a free month. You can get a free month straight till July. But then again, in order to get that free month, you have to put on a credit card to start a trial. I took the basic one, and on another practical level, most companies actually outsource the payroll companies because it is complex. There are many things changing around, withholdings, and the tax forms that need to be filed. It's not just cutting a check for the employee, it's also filing tax forms. Some accountants do it, some payroll firms do it. So once they're doing the forms, they just assign them the whole job of issuing the payroll. But we did spend half a class last time, and we'll do part of this class, depending on how long we go, just for as much complete knowledge as you can take from QuickBooks. It's a very important feature. You have customers, you have vendors, you have employees, and you have banking. Incidentally, in some enterprise versions, we did several classes of inventory. Inventory could be one of the top menus because it's a frequently used item. You could have it over here in the menu, and you could also have it in the icon. Anyway, so we're going back to step 7, where we had the income tracker, and we recall Pinchas Tadras did a 5-unit job for Ploni Almoni, and he could have generated for the company 5 times 75, which is $375. We created a bill for 300, which is four units, leaving one unbilled. And what we were saying last time when we did the PRH, which is the payroll hourly, is that the Pinchas Tadras should earn his $40 per hour for when he does a timesheet. But just like when we create the invoice, that is when the customer comes, has to pay. We went last time to income tracker, and we saw last time that was down. Okay, so only after we created this invoice for $300 for Ploni Almoni is when it comes a due date. Before, I doubled, I ran this twice, so ignored what's here on the bottom right now, this 375. But originally, when you do the timesheet, all you have is time and expense for 375. When you go here and you choose billables, and you bill it, and we could select over here 1, 2, 3, 4. We select 4 of those units, and we create a bill. Then that is when it turns into a money invoice. And we did that 2 days ago on 6/1, and we made, the terms were due on receipt. And that is why when we went to our P&L, after making the invoice, we checked it first in the step 1 that was before the payroll, and we checked it again. And we said we saw there was billable on the 375. Nothing was, no date or due date of expected payment was not billed. Then we had again in step 8, what we said was go check it out. You'll see in P&L. Now, so we're going to review step 8. So we went to our P&L, and prior to creating the bill, again, we're doing for years, so it's Y in the first one and R in the second one. That's the whole year. So sales income for 2810 only became 2810 after we created invoice. Prior to the invoice step, this $300 is not showing up at the income. By extension, the theory goes that when you generate the $300 on the bill, that is how Pinchas Tadris would earn his $40, which would be $160 in this case. Now, it is, when I'm going to run through the step, it's possible he does earn his $200 because maybe he does his timesheet, he gets his $200, and only when you get the bill, that is when you get the income for $300. So that we're going to see today because we didn't have the option to pay a bill. So now we're going to go to employees, pay employees a second, and see what happens. I'll go to pay employees. And we have here, Pinchas Tadris has 6 hours that, why it says that he's due 6 hours of PRH, and we have to see why is it, we can only do paychecks to those employees who have been checked. Okay, so we're trying to see why, how to view the timesheet, the payroll information. Incidentally, this is where you will do a payroll period. If you go in here, you could say that you pick a date. If this week is ending on the 5th, you would choose pay payroll ends on the 5th, and you'll pick the check date. Not necessarily the check date is the date that there's a pay period. Sometimes people have a couple day lag over. The pay period is from last week. Until all the timesheets come into the office and the secretary reviews the timesheets, then they issue a check. You wouldn't assume automatically that if the pay period ends, everyone gets paid in full. That would work on a salary basis. On a salary basis, you divide it among the 26 pay periods if it's biweekly, and every 2 weeks you cut a check. But on a timesheet basis, you have to review the pay period and enter the data from the timesheets. Some with the people go in the office and they check in and they check out, and there's partial hours, and they have to calculate what the person's really doing to get paid. So not necessarily the check date will be the pay period ending. Now here's giving you a notice, pay period change. You should update the hours from the new pay period. Okay, because the timesheets we had before was working by certain weeks, so they assumed that we are going to use the same pay period as a timesheet. So we're going to go out of this a second, and we're going to close this out. I'm going to go back to this timesheet. It's possible the error is on my end. Let me see. I see a bunch of questions. Still unclear. I just see some messages here. Um, Again, everyone's. I should at the end of the last class. I see four messages how to activate payroll. If and I said this, I said that last time. If you go down now, I activated it, so I have more options. But there's one or two close to the top where it says activate. Probably over here, either on this one or one under not the enter time. Payroll would have been a branch out calling to activate it. Once it's activated, it's not going to show you the option to activate. So go to employees, go roll down until you see one of those arrows expanding out and it says activate. And when it says activate, it's going to bring up a menu and you're going to pick the basic, not the one on the top on the left side. You're going to pick the activate, the cheapest version, which is about $20 a month, only after the first month. So you will cancel in 2 or 3 weeks. And that will be if you want to play around with the payroll by yourself, or you could just watch the video. But I didn't seem to have a problem activating it. And actually, I just did it today, 10 minutes. What's this here? Turn on payroll. So people who have it, not the trial version, my question is to you, remember there were two links that went out. The 1 month, which is, people are saying it's expiring now. And then the second link, which you send out, which is good for 4 or 5 months. I believe the errors that are coming out about the trial version is the 1 month trial. This is for Maddie. This is, I think, Mr. Katzman will be the same thing. If you download the count in 2020, not from the link, which was the second email, for those who don't have it, if you're not getting the error, that means you have the right software and you should be able to activate it. If you are getting errors that your trial is ending in a day or two, because we started, May 4th, so then we should do that. I did not get to step 11 to 13 for Moshe's asking. I'm just going to check my timesheets. I think I have to delete an extra timesheet. That's why I have a extra bill. So give me a second here. I'm not sure why part of the screen is blocked. This is I just brought up the Q&A bar. For some reason today, when I bring up the Q&A, it's bringing a black box on the display. So, it's a turn on payroll. That's so Mrs. Alter is asking about activate T-sheets. We're not activating T-sheets. That's QuickBooks timesheets that you pay for. We don't want that. We just want the payroll part of it. And I'm sorry, we sent out several emails, the first day that we should go back and download the second software. I guess regardless, now is the time to do it because the first month is over. Okay. So let's try to problem solve over here. So obviously I'm the instructor. I have like I think a year software as opposed to the students with a 4-month trial. I didn't actually try getting into the students and then activating it, but my assumption was that it runs for the semester. If more than one person have the error of activating payroll, is there anyone who did activate payroll with the second download? It asks you to create it does ask you to create an Intuit account, that it does. So you just choose your own email address. But if you get that far, then it should be a problem. And the same thing for, that's for Shayna. You could just use your own email address and you'll activate it. And for Mr. Anonymous, if you got the code from the school, then you probably got the second software, the second link. The trial software, you didn't get the license from the school. You got a trial code to open it. So that should answer those two questions. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we're going to try to take care of people's all the error messages at 9:45. We'll go on audio and we'll try to go work through one by one to solve everyone's issues. You know, I'm sorry people are having difficulty, but I didn't realize I was also involved in the technical support aspect. I just thought I got the people the software and would do an instruction of the software, and I didn't troubleshoot all the issues. Seems pretty straightforward. Let me take a digress for a moment. I'm gonna look at my timesheet from Ploni Amoni, and I'm gonna correct it. Because sometimes when I make a second demonstration, I save it instead of canceling it. So let's go back to Employees Center. And we'll go to, actually, we have to go to timesheets, employees, and we're gonna use we're gonna go to use the timesheet, and we'll go back to edit the timesheets that were created. So let's see what we had here. We came to a conclusion that you can either use 1 hour from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, skipping Shavuos on the 31st, or instead of Sunday the 31st, Friday the 24th. In that case, I'm gonna make them billable again, and I'm actually gonna take this, delete this, or undo this. So I'll be like everyone else. Okay. Rose aggregation, let me save. Yes. Okay, now let's go back to my P&L. I'm going to have to delete this invoice, doesn't exist. Let's go back to my income tracker. Now, hopefully I should be back like everyone. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so I have here, I'm just to run through again the step. Now we're going to go back from step 7. Actually, not step 7. Go back. Yes, and we'll step 7. It says I'm going to note that we have billable for $375, and we're going to rerun the step 7. That's all. There's no invoice for Mr. Gabay on the top. If I go to my P&L, what's it going to show me? 2510. Very good, because there, I deleted that invoice. I undid double billing. I fixed the timesheet. So I don't have Mr. Gabe for $300. Now, last time I had said, you go here to create invoice, and I deleted one of these items. I'm not gonna do this that way. If you did it, I'm not sure what happened. The correct way. Clear this one. Or it's possible they're both correct, but I'm gonna do it this way with choose billables. Because instead of deleting it, I'm just gonna highlight four, from four units. So I'm selecting the first one, Friday, which was 524, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that actually, no, I got to take out that last one. I'm not billing 375. And again, you might have had 5, 6, 7, 8, and you had the 30. You had Sunday the 31st, but we only highlight 4 of them. That's what I say in step 9. Create an invoice for 300 for 4 sessions. And what I say, notice that now plenty of money goes to the top. What I mean by going to the top, because when we're in the income tracker, you see plenty of money is here on the bottom. Plenty of money is here with a 375 at the bottom, no due invoice. When I create this invoice for 4 sessions, now there'll be an invoice on the top for 300, and there will still be left 75 here unbilled. Let's demonstrate that in actuality. Where am I under the invoice? Okay, we're back here to the choose billables. I highlighted again 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the same 4. And I'm going to click save. Where is here? Save and close. And I said, and people got this error. I marked this to be emailed. You can see right here on the top, it says, I move down the screen. What does it say? Print later and email later. You can't do that because it's not going to know where to find there is no email associated with it. So I'm going to uncheck email later, and I'm going to close it. Most likely, Plenty of Money doesn't have an email address, and you want to make sure you give it to them. So here we go. You see that 375 now became 300 billed. That's invoice, and 75 still left. Why is this box coming here? And what I'm going to do, give me 1 second. I'm going to pause the share a second, stop share, and pause. Okay, so, yeah, someone reminded me to record. I was recording, but I had to log out. And when I came back in, forgot to reactivate it. So now we reactivated. I had logged out because I was trying to get rid of this black box that comes up annoyingly, and I'm not sure why it's there. One possibility is that I am in a new location with new Wi-Fi. Please let me know if the voice is clear. Someone told me that at the beginning the voice wasn't clear, so someone could let me know. I don't hear myself. So that's with that. Okay, Anonymous said, okay, this is Shoshana asks, why some are optional? How would I know what to select? What's your question? What thing is optional? So please retype. In answer to someone asking why we're sitting through the class, well, there's 2 takeaways from today's first hour, and would be, number 1, we see how, just by watching, you see how the timesheet, yes, until now we were able to make the $300. We were able to invoice of a timesheet. to create a paycheck that you saw today. So you don't need to get all the specifics of the withholdings. It's the extra knowledge. But number one, you see how the timesheet carries through to make his $200 check. You also see how the employee earns his money, not by how you invoice him, but how his timesheet works. We had the discussion up in the air. We invoice the customer for 4 out of 5. Will the employee get 4 out of 5 or not? And the answer is no. He did his job. He gets all 5. And lastly, you see how the third thing comes up on the P&L. You see now it's called payroll expense. I wanted you to have that on the P&L. You could see there's income, there's expenses, you have a balance sheet, you have inventory, you have payroll expense, and you could appreciate that the payroll expense is not just what the employee receives, but payroll is everything that it costs to make the check. That will be like a 2-minute summary, and this is actually recorded. The 220, the summary of the first hour. Can you use QuickBooks? Someone's asking me for 1099s. Absolutely. You use QuickBooks for 1099. But this would not be on the employee section, obviously, because if he was an employee, he would be a W-2, right? You would just cut him a check. That's it. You just cut him a check, and you could keep track of your vendors. You can make a note. Right? I believe people understand if you are an employee, that's where it comes all your payroll tax forms. Those are the rights. That's when you're contributing. At least not. That's when you're contributing the FICA matches. So the reasons why you would need the payroll in QuickBooks is for employees, not for independent contractors. Independent contractors, you're just giving them a check, and you make at the end of the year, you make a vendor report, and anyone who's an LLC will get a 1099. If it was for labor, and if it was for a product, if it was $5,000, if you bought resellable product, it would be if you spent over $5,000. A corporation does not get a 1099, and the answer is that now it is being recorded. And what I'm going to do, let's see here. How is the mail term age tax, federal, state? So I said the New York withholdings and the federal withholdings are calculated by a W-9, a W-4 at the beginning of the year. When you decide, you make an estimate, how much will this employee make? And is he single, is he married, or is he head of household? The idea is to estimate his tax liability for the year. Based on that, to make the proper withholdings. Same thing will be if he has children, even though since 2018 there's no exemptions that they added. So taxable income starts right away after $12,000 per person, $24,000 per family. However, per couple, there are tax offsets up to $2,000 per child. So if you believe you will get the $2,000 credit, you could factor that in to your tax withholdings. That's for Chana at 8:56. Amuna raised her hand. I'm not sure what the question is here. It was before, but doesn't seem so now. Yeah, the answer was Sam is asking, besides $17 deducted, you have to pay income tax. That is, well, you will not have to pay income tax until you earn $12,000. So if he's working only for $200 a week, he is income tax free on the federal level. I believe from state to state. If you're lucky, you live in Florida, you don't pay state tax at all. If you live in other states, it could be $10,000 or so, and you'll pay minimal on the last bit, but then you might have tax credit. So there's no general rule. You will have to deal with the accountant about that. But like I said, the income tax is a separate line from Social Security. How do you print for three people at once? Shoshana's asking. Well, if you have 3 people and you have to make 3 checks, then you just put in one paper and you print out 3 checks and you tear it out. You tear them apart. Crystal clear. besides the raspiness I feel myself. Otherwise, that raspiness comes through clear also. Good. Thank you very much. So, I already checked out the last question. So, why are some taxes optional? Taxes are not optional. I think as Benjamin Franklin said, there's only two things that are certain: it's death and taxes. Taxes are not optional, but you don't have to pay tax until a certain amount. So if you know that you're going to make less than $12,000, what you don't have, then you don't have to withhold tax. Some people are afraid that they might spend all the money. They might, for some reason, make a withholding of $1,000, of $100 a paycheck, and withhold $2,000, and at the end of the year they get a $2,000 bonus, which they didn't count on that money, and based on that they get it for summer vacation. It's like a forced savings, but that shouldn't be necessary. There's other ways to save and also earn something for it. Okay. Second here. I actually noticed that my microphone has a little plus button on it, so perhaps it went louder now. You could let me know. Victor, Victor says we cannot make the paycheck because we don't have the latest QuickBooks license. It's not about the latest license. It's the version. If you're the student, it seems like from the information I'm getting right now, you can't do the paycheck. If you're a company, so you can make the cheshbon if you want to pay $20 a month, $200 a year, and do it in-house, or you want to outsource it to the company. It'll probably cost you maybe somewhere between $700 to $1,200 a year. If there's only like 1 or 2 employees, one to several employees, and there are tax forms that need to be filed quarterly, and you have to issue W-2s. So if you don't know this, it might just pay to give this over to a payroll company because it'll cost you the same money just doing the checks in-house and then you have to learn how to do the payroll forms. In my QuickBooks, I have under employee section, I could do payroll tax forms. I could process the payroll forms. If everyone heard of the thing called the 941, 941 over here, that's 941. These are federal forms that are filed quarterly. And you have NYS 45s, NYS 45s, which are quarterly for the state. Then you have 940s, which are employers' annual federal unemployment forms. We spoke about federal unemployment FUTA before. And then there's additionally NYS 1s, which if you have employees that need to pay withhold taxes for the state, you got to pay it in. Or this is how you make also payments on the NYS 45. You use the NYS 1. So you have to understand these forms, how they work, and probably you want to give this out to a company to do. Some accountants do it. Some accountants do not do it. They just say go to payroll providers. Okay, so that answered that question. And the answer is, if you can't activate payroll, would you cut a check for $222? Well, let's see. Let me look at my balance sheet. What's in my account? I still have my 618. Even though I cut the check, why do I have still 618 in my bank? As of 6, because it's as of 6/3. Let me see as of the end of the week. And you're right. We cut the check for $183.16. So the answer is, and this should also answer your question, you do not cut the check for 222 because what did we do today? Today, yes, we had a payroll expense of $222. And this will appreciate debits and credits. So the expense is 222. Now there are two credits. One is a credit to the bank, which is right now, we cut a check for 183. And the other 22, the other now it's $42 or almost $40, right? The $16 you withheld from the employee, the $22, that is a credit also. It's a liability. It's called payroll tax payable. We didn't do a check for it yet. That's not automatic. So if you go the control Y on this transaction, you could get it. Where do we have here? You see here? It's and they break it down in a million formats. $200 is what the expense is. $222. The credit of check is only 183, but you have that's the check. But you have liabilities. Liabilities 15 cents and 54 cents, etc. Now you can see I'm covering, but you see here payroll liabilities, and you have here. That's why I told you you have 6.2% to 1.45%. Now you see what was withheld from the employee, what was withheld, what's held from Pichas Tadris, and what's the company. So you see all these about $40 almost is a liability. That's the debits and the credits. Now when you go to employees pay, where is this here? There's pay payroll here, payroll taxes and liabilities, and you want to pay the liabilities. This is where you will take the $42 out of your checking account. So then you will make a debit against the payroll liabilities. You have a credit against the bank. So that answers. It's a more of a lengthy answer to that question. Do you write a check of 222 for the bank? Because the answer is you don't. But again, it's tough. It's explaining how debits and credits work on payroll. When you do the payroll expense, you have right away the expense. You recognize it. And this is actually one thing where even in the cash method, right? Even if you didn't pay the expense yet, you do recognize the expense. Because if you have to pay tax, right? Yeah, if you have to pay tax on that employee, you're gonna give a W-2 and you have to pay the tax, then you also recognize the liability as an expense as well. So I'll go pay liabilities. What is here? Okay, well, I said I'm not going to do this. So that I was just trying to answer this Q&A. Let's go back to the next question. Anonymous says it doesn't give you the option of selecting only 4 of the 5. Choose. There are 2 menu lines. One is create invoice, and one is choose billable. And that's the one Mishnah Achrein, I said, well, you should choose billable. So if you want the income tracker, and you went here to open, you could create an invoice for the 75, or I could choose billable and highlight it, and this is going to choose the last bill. And this is what I said last time you should do for the first 4. You should, at the end of last session and the beginning of this session, I said you should use the option of choose billable. That way you could select different ones. Now, just to make complete, just like there's an income tracker, there's a bill tracker. For those who recall, we have some accounts payable that we didn't pay. Now you'll see what do we have? We have a Con Edison. Con Edison is overdue because we did this weeks ago, and we only had a 10-day to pay them, and it's already over 3 weeks. We have National Grid and AMI, and now we should have. What is here? Those are the overdue ones. Makaras Farm, this farm from Achron Yerushalayim, we have $100 bills. You see these? That's as of today. Now, if we would view this as of the end of the week, we'll probably see also showing up your payroll liabilities also due in your bills, but it doesn't recognize it yet because it's not today's day yet. Choose the settings. Okay. And you can choose. You want estimates of sales, of time and expenses. This what actually these are bills. Okay. This completes the employee timesheet invoice payroll item. That means the employee makes a timesheet to create revenue for the company, and in the same timesheet has his data, which earns him his income. Steps. So we did step 11. We just did his check, and I created in step 12 and 13. I created a new customer employee called Yaakov Fishbein. With Yaakov Fishbein over here. I didn't do any address information. I just put in Yaakov Fishbein as his name. So if you go into the tabs, you'll see pretty much nothing Yaakov Fishbein. I didn't put any social, no address, nothing. The only thing I did is I wrote that he's a bi-weekly person on a salary of $26,000. So if he's had $26,000 salary for bi-weekly, the check would be probably $500 a week or $1,000 biweekly for a paycheck. So this is just a very straightforward item, which we'll try to do, and that will close the payroll segment for this class, unless anyone has questions on that. Was employees, pay employees, it's 6.5. Okay, see, automatically went to 6.19 because we already created a check for Pinchas Tadris at 6.5, and it assumes if you're doing the check again, it's 2 weeks later, right? Just like QuickBooks keeps track of your paychecks. Once you use a check 1006, it'll choose next check number, right? Same way, it keeps track of the date. I'm going to go back again to today, which is 6/3. I'm going to choose Yaakov Fishbein, and one second. We choose Yaakov Fishbein. And I'm going to continue, and voila, his gross pay is $1,000 because he gets paid biweekly, and if there's 26 biweekly payments and his salary is $26,000, his gross pay will be $1,000. I think this was a very simple demonstration more than anything else. Why is he paying so much taxes? And he's taking off 171 and his net pay is 828. You would open the detail, and you would see for $1,000, 6.2% is $62. 1.45% is $14.50. Federal withholding is $95. You could set this to 0 if you want, because maybe he's married and on $24,000 he pays no tax. So why? And then you're only going to withhold from him the $76, $76.50. He'll get the difference. And you see the company match in this case is Social Security and $14.50. Why is there no federal employment? Why is there no? Actually, there is federal employment. Federal employment is 6%. And $6. There's no state unemployment. We could leave that for a different question. People could do research, but I'm just going to save close. And if we're only holding $76.50 for his paycheck, it's $923.50. I create a check, and if I go to payroll expense, you want to know the true value of his check is not 1,000, but it's about 1,000. And let's go to the P&L. If before payroll expense was $222, now we went up to $1,305. So we went $1,075. Or actually 80. Here you get it. You go to payroll, we'll break it down. Ploni Amoni. Where does it say? Ploni Amoni is not the actual employee. It's really Pinchas Tadris, but it's showing the name Ploni Amoni because the job came from Ploni Amoni. Yaakov Fishbein costed us $1,082. And for those of you who get paychecks, appreciate if you make $1,000, for every $1,000, you can be guaranteed the employer is paying at least $1,082, if not more. So that should tell you what your true cost of pay is. If you get married in the middle of the year or have a child as an employee need to change the estimated tax, you can update it. You could definitely do that. If you knew you were making a $20,000 salary and you were making withholdings based on, you have $8,000 taxable income, and then little you know that 3 months into your job, got engaged and then you get married right away. So then go back and say, 1 second, I don't have to pay tax until $24,000. So Sam is asking how to make them bi-weekly. If you ask me Fishbein, I did that in the additional info. It's step 4 in the payroll handout. You go in the payroll info. You can choose: is it daily, weekly? You have a day worker, bi-weekly, or monthly? So the assumption is he's bi-weekly. And we did not use a data timesheet, so it wasn't pulling the data from data timesheet. Then it only pulled the data out of here. 26,000 divided by biweekly was $1,000. That answers Sam. Okay. What I would like to do now is to take, if anyone has any questions right now, I can take some questions. Otherwise, I can go through one tab of the items today. I don't think we should be overloaded to go through all in one day. Go through one item and tell us what it does for us. So, since I didn't see any raise of hands yet, or I don't see any Q&A, so we'll do that for about 20 minutes, and then we'll go over to general Q&A. Every file has an extension. When you have a PDF file, it happens to be PDF as extension. You have a Word document file, it used to be DOC, now it's probably DOCX. Every file has an extension. What are the extensions of the various QuickBooks files? And why do you need to know that? So there are times that you have to back up a file. You create a local backup. And then you have to restore it. So if you're restoring the backup you have to know, am I using a defective file? And that's why if you're trying to back up a file because your file is defective, you don't want to use the same file that you have. You want to use a backup. Secondly, you want to back off, usually you have a off-site backup in order to protect your data. You don't want to have your backup only on your computer, because if your computer gets the hard drive crashes, if there was a Geneva, and then you're lost. So you would have some off-site storage. I'm not going to give recommendations right now. I don't want to take that responsibility, but some people back up to their own personal cloud as well. Then there are times you send an accountant a copy of a file. So that could be a different type of a copy of a file. And if we have the accountant version, you will see you can open a second company. So I'm not going to close this file right now. I'm going to open a second company. Those of you who don't have accountants software cannot open a second company. And I find that this is a very good feature. You can have two companies. A lot of times you have someone who has more than one entity, and you're trying to compare information from two different companies to see the net effect. So there are several restrictions in the secondary window, but it's fine. I'm going to press OK. And for now, you could follow along with me. So in the drop down, again, you want the file with open second company. Open second company, and it's going to give you a prompt which is telling you you're going to have some restrictions. Say okay, and you'll get this window. This window, incidentally, will be the same window you'll see if you open up, if you closed out your QuickBooks file and you opened it up and you didn't want to go into that same, the We Do It All, you just close out the file without closing the software, you'll be here. Okay, one second. I see someone's telling me I need new share. Okay, correct. You got to share the secondary. So I am sharing the secondary. So because technically I have two separate screens. I have one QuickBooks from We Do It All and a second screen for QuickBooks secondary. So good. Thank you for those raised hands and for those alerts. Okay, let's get out of this. Okay, you can see, remember we had Zoom consulting, and then we started, that was 1 or 2 classes. We had We Do It All. A regular QuickBooks file is QBW. That's, maybe it's QuickBooks Workbook or QuickBooks W is a workable or a worksheet. Probably it's a workbook, similar to Excel as a workbook. But what the W stands for is not so much a material as if you want to open or restore an existing company. I'm going to go to the center tab, open, restore. Here you're going to have, it'll tell you what are the types. A regular QuickBook file is QBW. An accountant's copy is called QBA. Probably the A is for accountant. A backup is QBB. The B is for backup. And finally, you have an accountant's copy transfer file, probably X. X means a transfer. So QuickBooks, X is the transfer. So you have accountants, that's QBA, QBX, X for transfer, the last B for backup, or the standard is BW for workbook. Or working file, whatever that would mean. So this is assuming you wanted to open an existing company. So if I already had Zoom, right, I can't open We Do It All again, but if I say open a company file, it will choose for me We Do It All, right? Then I have consulting. Okay, then we have create a new company. If you're creating a new company, then you're going to start the way we started off the last time when I gave the first handout, which said open up We Do It All, an LLC company. So you'll press start, and you'll go back to, if you remember this familiar page, business name. You're welcome. You could try a new company name, a new industry. So we had done, for those who had set up last time, we do it all. We had the industry, we said then was chose probably general services, general service-based business, probably that's what we did then. And the business type I had said LLC, didn't remember to make a difference of a single member, multi-member. But the difference will be on the tax thing. If you're doing the 1040, a single member, it flows through to your personal tax, and you don't do a separate tax return. If it's a multi-member, then you do a separate tax return. You get a K1, which you put onto your respective tax returns. But either way, LLCs give you members' equity. Remember the equity, that's what it calls it. In corporations, it calls it retained earnings, and as well as probably likely S corporation as well. And then you could open up, you could choose a merchandising company. We do inventory. So we have to manually activate inventory, but if you do a general product-based service, most likely inventory would have already been activated for you. Not only that, there's a chance that inventory would be already on your top menu. You wouldn't have to, not only would be activated, you would have a special menu tab on the top. So I'm going to see, go back. I'm not going to create a company. I was just showing you different options you do from the first menu bar. Other options, what can I do? You can open an existing file. Or there's a new thing which you didn't do, is create from an existing file. We did create from scratch. You could open an existing, then you could create from an existing file. This is, for example, you want to make a new slate, a new company. You want to keep your vendors. You want to keep your customer lists, or you want to start from zero, a new year. And why would you want to have a new company? So I would like to show you something which many people are not aware of. People, we once discussed if you void a check or you delete a check. And I mentioned why some people would void a check not to have missing numbers. So you'll have the number and it's voided out. So it's keeping track of it. And one of the reasons you would have missing numbers, you don't want to have missing numbers, is because I'll give a different thought right now because I don't want to. Let's just say we're going to go back now to the other screen, which is share we do it all. There's a concept of calling the company's books, where the company comes for an audit. It used to be, we explained in the first class, you have physical books, you have the sale, you have the accounts receivables, accounts payables, and they want to review the books. When you're in QuickBooks, and they want a copy of your QuickBooks, so sometimes a review is limited. In your office, for example, they'll come down and you give them a report of this year. They look at this year, they might want to have a 2-year review, 3-year review. You could have in your company 10 to 15 years of information, right? Because you're built in the same QuickBooks file. And if you were in a hard copy format, you might get rid of books that are 7 years old, 5 years old. You don't need them anymore. Keeping them around could be a liability, perhaps, whatever, depending on how you run your business. And you don't want people to have access to more than what's necessary. You only have to have 3 years. In your QuickBooks file, they can have your whole history. That would be a reason why you would want to create a new file from existing data, because you just transfer out into a new file those transactions or those years from a time period. You would go to, you could do that. You could go File and Utilities, and you could export. You could export just lists. You could export addresses. There are different things you could take out, and then you could also create different types of files, which will be a portable company file. For example, you're sending an accountant's copy, and you could select what information you want to create in your new file. I'm creating a portable company file, and you're going to tell it where to save it. And you'll choose, okay, you want the regular documents folder. Okay. We'll close and open before they create a company file. Okay, we'll let them do that. I'll let them close and open my file. But so the thought I was saying before is something called an audit trail. The audit trail is the QuickBooks keeps track of everything you do in QuickBooks. Everything you did, you undid, you undeleted. And I'll show you how that invoice for $300 I did today and I deleted will be there in historical. It's not going to be my P&L because I already deleted one of the $300, but it will show up in what's called the audit trail. I'm creating a portable company file. Please wait, give it a second. Okay, so I have a portable copy. This is called actually QBM, probably for mobile. So now you go into another extension. You have QBA for accountants, you have QBB for backup, you have QBX for transfer, you have QBW as a regular, you have QBM. So there are many extensions. And they might ask you this information on the QuickBooks certification. So this is something, I know some of the information that they have a random question bank. And I incorporated in the classes all the information they should need to not only pass with flying colors, but to excel in this certification. So I'm back into my QuickBooks file, and I'm going to go to Reports, Accountants, and you'll see something called Audit Trail. Okay, you have accountants, so look at Audit Trail. What is an audit trail? And you'll see what happened today. I deleted something. I'm administrator. I deleted 300. There was an invoice for $300 was created. There was paychecks that were created. You see what we did? I go back to previous date. This is all today. If I go down, I see this week. I'll see what I did on Monday. See the paycheck? If I scroll down the list, this week 531. 1 second here. Remember, we had purchase orders. We were going the 531 from Machim Yerushalayim. We stopped because I did a second invoice. So you should be aware. I can even go back for this month, and you could go back to last fiscal year, custom. You could pick any history. The information is there in QuickBooks. 6/3. Go back. Actually, this month I'm doing June, so I want to go. Not this month. I want to go back to May, and you'll be able to see. What is this here? May 1. Last modified. Customize report. Oh, yeah, I see here. It shows here. Remember, we paid the credit card for $500. So this is here. At one point, we deleted the $177 in account payable. Finesse paper, because I did it once. I deleted it a second time. So all your history is here, and you want to try to keep your books as clean as possible. Obviously, there are times you do delete, and it's in the course of regular office work, you delete, you create, you make mistakes. But some people think that they could just go delete what's called a cash account, and it's not there. And you should be aware that Audit Trail keeps track of something that's deleted, and it'll keep track of all those transactions. I started saying that you could export not only, okay, so I was saying you could export transactions. Okay, so let's go down the list. You have new company. New company is similar to what we did, I showed you before, Express Start. So that was the first tab. Let me get out of that and get back into We Do It All. And that's the goal of today, to go through the first tab. So there are many ways. I could create new company here also. I could create new company from that interface. I could go create new company from the drop down and file. In the file menu tab, from the file menu. We still didn't figure out why I had to create a password. So I'm gonna go in. Usually in the later versions of QuickBooks after 2017, once you exit, they make you make a new password. Okay, so we're back here again, file. So we know what file is, how to create a new, still opening up, how to create a new company, create new company from existing file. We spoke about it, we didn't do it. So for example, if I want to create a new company from this company, right? And I'll say, We Do It All too. Now, it's a play on words. We do it all too. Is this company number 2, the second one, or we do it all 2, a copycat, we don't know, but let's just do we do it all 2, create company. And you'll see what you get. We're saving it here and save it in the same place. Let's see what happens. We do it all, and we're creating a new company called We Do It All 2, just to see what happens. And you could do this right now. You could do file, create new company from existing file, We Do It All 2, and see what comes up. QuickBooks takes a moment to catch up. Okay, it's almost done. QuickBooks takes their time opening files and creating company files. So we're waiting anyway. You may as well do it yourself. Again, you go the file menu, create new company from existing file, and call it We Do It All 2. It could be number 2, it could be 200, whatever, or it could be 20, TO, however you want. We're just about ready. It's creating chart of accounts. It's using the same vendors, probably using the same customers. Let's see. You should know what happens. Importing that into a new company file. What's it doing? Is it bringing all transactions? Are we going to have the same P&L? Let us see. QuickBooks has encountered an error while copying your starter file. Okay, let's try it again. I had a second window open for QuickBooks, I believe, so we're going to close the secondary file. Maybe this is getting in our way. Let's go escape, press escape and leave QuickBooks. And now we only have one window open. Okay, secondary window, let's close that out. Second. Please just move the window away from shared application. I think this is let me stop share a second. For some reason it's not letting me exit QuickBooks. Let's see if we can do that now. The full screen. Okay, so for some reason QuickBooks is not letting me close. So maybe it's just a computer issue, not a QuickBooks issue in itself. And let me open the floor for questions while we're trying to figure this out. If anyone has this is here. Let's go back to full screen. Participants. Okay. Shoshana has a question. Hello? Yeah.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah.
So you're doing the Q&A now? I just stepped away for a minute.
No. I started Q&A right now.
Okay, so because I have a question about you were talking before about the 75 and the 150. You said I probably did double, but I was trying to figure out how to go back to that transaction and see what I did, and I realized I couldn't follow the trail. So just to be able to understand the program, I want to know how to figure out what I did there and why it's like that. Not just to get the number straight, just to understand the program.
Right. So first thing is go back to timesheets and see if you have one or two timesheets. The timesheets entered twice.
Second, timesheets is under employees.
Employees. Right now, my QuickBooks is not.
Use weekly timesheet.
You can use weekly timesheet. Yeah, go use weekly timesheet, but go back to. It's going to show you this a different week, maybe. Make sure you're looking at this week.
Yeah. Okay. So now I see by May 18th to 24th, I have one on Sunday, and then 25th to the 31st. It has it on two lines, but I have on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know what it has on two lines.
Okay, so delete one line because probably that's what you have. You created, you just did a double. Whether you use two timesheets or you enter it in two lines, you have double the charges.
But there's only four. I was supposed to have 5 charges in all.
5 charges in all.
So I have 5 charges. I just for some reason it's on 2 lines. One of them has a check next to it. One of them.
When the sum is no, when the check means that it's still billable, it's still open. So you have 2 that are still with the check.
So on the week of May 18th, it has like that thing not with the check. I think it was already billed.
Right, it's only one line. You don't have 2 lines.
Yeah, on the first one there's 1 line of 1. On the second one there's 1 line that has a check and 3 on another line that has just that thingy.
Well, in the second timesheet, they're split in 2 lines, but it's still only 4. There's a total of 4 units, or it's more units.
No,
right?
It was a total of 4.
And if you go past another week,
nothing. Right, it's empty.
So you went back 2 weeks to 0. You went back 1 week, it shows only 1, and it was ready billed.
Right.
And you went to this week, you have 3 more that are billed, so that's a 300. Right. And you have only 1 more unbilled, which is 75. So you want to know why you see 150.
Yeah.
So
basically.
Right. So what do you see when you go to the income tracker? And what do you have?
So I was playing around with it and I tried to not erase. I forgot what I did. I did billable one, and then it went to the top, and it says Plony invoice number 9, amount 75, open balance 75, open status.
One second. On the top it shows it says the line says invoice, and
there's 2. You had like I have the one with 300 like you had, and it says overdue.
Wait, right, but on the left it says invoice, right? It says invoice and it says overdue, but it's $300. And then what else do you have besides the 300? You have on the bottom it says time and expense.
Yeah, so basically it says time and expense is 75 on the bottom, but on the top I have 300 and 75. It only split because I made one of them billable or something. You said to do on the side there was like an option.
There's an option create invoice and create billable.
Oh yeah, here this thing. Yeah, so I did choose billables for one of them because I had 150. So now it went.
So on the top again, so on the top you have 1 invoice for 300 and 1 invoice for 75, or you only have. So you made an invoice for 75, but you still left the billable to do it a second time. Sometimes you could rebill for the second item. You know.
My point is that I have too many things here, and I don't see where that charge happened.
Okay, so I'll say right now you will delete that invoice for 75. In other words, on your P&L, you see 2580, or you see what's it called? 20. What's the total should be?
I should do this fiscal year. 1 second.
Do you see 2810 or do you see 2885? Because
2885.
Okay, so if you double click on it, you'll see extra $75 invoice.
So then, this is what I was trying to figure out. How do I go back to an old invoice? I was trying to press before, and it said you can't something. It didn't let me.
If you, in general, if you go Control I, which is create invoice, you just
Right.
go left arrow and it brings you back in order of date.
Yeah, so it didn't let me do that. Like I was trying to see this person's invoices, and it didn't let me see it. So I couldn't figure out how to. Here, let's say I'm on this thing now. Okay, here, Baruch Hashem, I have it now. So that says Plony is 75, and then again 4 75s, which is what I was supposed to have.
Again, Plony is how much?
So the invoice number 8 is for 300, and invoice number 9 is for 75.
Okay, so and it does it show, doesn't. Okay, so I would say just delete that invoice.
I don't know how to delete it. If I delete it, then there's I have.
Delete invoice 9 for 75. Delete that invoice.
But then okay, then I'll see what happens on the thing. Okay, if it's still
then your P&L will be back to 2810.
So how do I delete this anyway?
You go edit, and there's delete invoice. For the menu edit. That's what we're gonna do actually next class. We're gonna go down the edit line, and edit has a lot of items because edit has preferences. So we could spend the whole class, almost going through the edit drop down. Preferences has a whole big subdirectory. Many options.
So now I just deleted. Now my income tracker says time and expenses 75 open.
Good. So it is open because it wasn't billed yet.
Now what should I do is choose billables?
Now I could do. I could share my screen if I need to because before it was at the force close the QuickBooks. What do you say about the billables?
I want to know if I should select it as billables now.
No, but we didn't make that less invoice. I wanted to. I was keeping another $35. I don't want everything to be so smooth. I want you to see open balances. I want you to see invoices, payables, inventory changing. I'm trying to get you, in a micro image. There are many things going on in a company, so you could do 100 transactions. They're not all sales receipts and all done, everything closed. You're gonna have people who you have purchase orders coming in. You paid part of it. You pay a little bit. There's not money. People sometimes people would like to pay the bills in full, but sometimes they say, no, I'm making a partial payment. I'm going to pay next time. Just like your customers paid you partially, you pay people partially. It's just the way things turn in business.
Right. Okay.
So if I go in your account, what's it called, in the balance sheet, accounts receivables. So today it's 1867, for example. If I was 4 days ago, it would be 50. It's 1567, and today it's $300 more, right? Because we made an invoice for $300. So it's 1567. So we see the $300 show up, but and I was showing that the income doesn't have to match the employer that makes that income. The income. Really, you could do an invoice for $375. You could. I was just trying to show you that the company only recognizes income based on an invoice, not based on a timesheet. And that was one objective, to show you that, because that's what accrual is. Accrual is you make an invoice, it's income. You make it.
So when it's on a timesheet, it's not cheshbon at all on the P&L. Like
no, timesheet's not P&L. No, not in the P&L. And not even on the expense. Payroll expense only showed up when we cut a check.
Okay, great. Okay, fine. So there's no way to figure out where that 75. Like, there's no way to follow the trail in a way and to know where everything is, or it's just that it's not in front of you, so you can't.
I don't see your screen. It's not like you just walk over to the student's desk and see. Let me take a look at your screen. A lot of the Q&A is I show my screen and you look at what I'm sharing, and you're telling me, oh yeah, it looks like this, or where are we off? Like you match my screen to yours.
Right.
Potentially I could maybe try you have screen sharing, but then I'm not really.
It's not important enough. I just want you answered it anyway. Basically. Okay. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Anyone else have a question? Okay, so I'm answering live the Q&A. So Judy said I'm the new employee. Fishbein Payroll Info earnings from name, earning items name. It will not let you type salary. Again, so to answer your question, you're creating a new item. You don't type salary. The way it works is, and we did this last time. Let's see 1 second. Back at the QuickBooks. If we're by employee center or by employee, what would happen if we're holding here? We're holding payroll info, and so I have salary here. Salary wasn't here. You would go either add new, right? Either add new, or you just type salary. The same way we create every item, whether it's item in inventory, item in service, item in payroll. You just type it as you go. You type salary. If I would do, if I would call it annual salary, let's say, and press tab, it will tell me annual is not here. Set it up. So that's basically what I did. I typed salary, and usually salary goes by annual. The pay frequency you'll choose how it is, but people don't have a monthly salary; they have an annual salary, and you break it up by different pay periods. Once you type salary, if you don't use time data, then it'll pull it from the annual rate over here. If you're hourly, then you have to use the time data. Otherwise, how does it know how many hours to do it? Now, I should say you don't have to use a timesheet for hourly salaries. You do not have to do that. In this case, the employee, we were tracking this employee. You know, he's out of town, and we want to know for every hour we pay him, we have what to show for it. If he's billing us for 5 hours, I want to know he's actually billing out 5 hours. But you can have someone in the office not, just doing regular clerical work, working 10 hours at $15 an hour, get a $150 paycheck. They can just do a pay employee. Because you could create a new employee and manually on a check. See over here, pay employee. You can only pay this way employees you have already. So you could just create an employee and just once you have employee in the system, you just create a check and right amount of hours. I could run through that process if there's no other questions and people want to get this info. Because next class I'm going to move on from payroll. Let's see here. Go to Employee Center. Employees and control them, create a new employee. So, control N. Should do it, I guess, this doesn't. Okay, so new employee. We'll pick a new employee. We'll put in Mrs. Fine. Okay, it might be. I'll put some. Let me just use a name. And the item name here, we're going to use secretarial. Okay, or clerical. Seems to be a new catchy word. So we're going to have a clerical item and press tab. And they're going to ask me, add, a second, I'm going to try again. Clerical, set up. And the hourly wages, it's regular pay, and it's called clerical. It's payroll expenses. I'll get Judy on the phone in a second. And I'm going to put in $15 an hour. I'm not using timesheet. Leave as is. I want to set up, here would set up federal or state. You can have different, the reason why is people can work in different states. You have a company, you have employees working out of other states. Leave as is. If I would go now, I have a third Mrs. Fine, I'm going to go employees and pay employees. I did not do no timesheet. And I'm just going to pick Mrs. Fine for today. And we're going to continue. And here, I would have to add in what I'm paying. Right? This is gross pay. So open paycheck detail. See, here it doesn't know. because there's no annual salary to pull from. There's no timesheet to pull from data. So what am I doing? What I'm doing is I'm going to open the paycheck detail. And I'm going to write in, we know that the rate is $15. I'm going to write, she worked for 10 hours. Now, I edited the detail for 10 hours. Now QuickBooks knows that it's $150 for the check. Right, $15 at 10 hours, totals $50. Now, even though it keeps on giving us errors about withholdings, one thing we know, and this is why I tell you, this is another, it's not optional. Social Security and Medicare is always going to come off. If I would do 30 hours, because I want to, we're on PPP and we want to have a full-time employee starting at 30 hours, basic. So 6.2, what's it called? Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do 20 hours. So you can do the math. On $300, 3 times 6.2 is $1,860, right? Social Security. Oh, this is 2 hours. It's $30. Okay, you can do it this way. 2 hours of $30. So $30 times 62 cents is $1.86. If it's 20 hours, it's $1,860. And automatically, I think they seem to put in $5 automatically for every $100. Okay, so that just shows how you could do employee. Now I'll go back to Judy had a question. Hello? Unmute. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got that salary and then the drop down gave me annual. But then the next screen gives me add new payroll item salary, enter name for salary item. What does that mean?
It's probably bringing up the same name that you chose before when you typed it.
I said annual.
Right, so it's using annual.
26, so I type it in again, annual.
Well,
it says office salaries you may, so I don't know why mine comes up with different screens than yours when we're in the same area.
Were you watching the last run through when I added Mrs. Fine?
Yeah.
So did you see the screens that was asking me when I added a new person? I can do it again.
My screen is different.
Huh?
My screen is different.
Let me see. Let me see what I can do over here. Let me see. Second Q&A.
Because I'm in the box on the left with payroll info.
That's okay. I just promoted you to a panelist. Can you share me? Could you share your screen with me? Would that work? Would I have to stop my? If I stop share, could you share your screen? Does it let you share a screen?
I don't know. I never did it before.
Are you on the bottom menu? You see an option called share screen?
You're on one. You're on one.
The Zoom. You're in the Zoom menu.
I know, but we're on 2 different screens.
I know what I stopped sharing now, and I made you a panelist. So, on the bottom of your Zoom, if you go in your Zoom app, there's because mute and video.
Right, but
Yeah.
I don't. But I have 2 computers in front of me. I have you on one.
Right.
And I'm doing the work on the second one.
Okay, so on the one that but where are you logged in with Zoom? Oh, I see what you're saying. You're doing Zoom on one computer and working on a second computer, so you can't share.
I'm seeing you on a MacBook Air, and I'm using a regular a laptop to do the work.
I hear.
I'm 2 separate computers here. So I can keep up with you.
I got no. So let me see if I go one more time. Employees, and I'm going to create a new employee, and you tell me where we're going different, okay?
Okay.
So in the employee center, I'm going to create another employee. Actually, It's not about employee.
So now on the third one, go down to payroll info. No, you,
No, I'm going to payroll. Okay. I put in clerical. Now let's say, give me,
no, it wasn't clerical. I had put annual.
okay,
the
whatever. Well, the annual is, you don't need to put annual. Annual is, it's going to be annual. You have hourly or annual. What you want to do is,
I
are we
put
paying
6,000.
hourly? Are we paying salary? Are we paying a timesheet? PRH is a timesheet. We made PRH. If you see on the PRH, I say, okay, that's linked to the employee. PRH is an item which is billed out at $15 an hour.
No, but we
Payroll.
billed it out 26,000. So if you can go back to the example,
Yeah, the salary is
6,000.
no, salary. No, okay, salary.
And then rate was 26,000.
No, okay, that's good. Okay,
That's where I'm.
okay. Depends who you are, because Mrs. Fine is a person which you pay $15 an hour, right? So that's what I did. I didn't when I was saying Pinchas, let's say Pinchas, right? So
Right.
Pinchas, the way I set him up, I set him that he is a PRH item at $40 an hour, and I use a timesheet. So we bill him out. We bill him out at 75. It costs us $45 an hour. And it's because we're using timesheet, that's why it automatically treats this item as an hourly rate, 40. When I used Mr. Fishbein over here, right? So
Yeah.
if I go into him, I didn't use time data, right? There's no check here. Since I didn't use him, and I put in 26, it's going to assume it's the annual one. So I guess
Okay.
hourly will be with a timesheet, and annually is without a timesheet.
Got that. Okay, I see the
That
difference.
part.
with
That's
the
the
click.
difference.
Okay,
Now, when I click on, I typed in a new name, take any name, that's where it's going to set it up, and it'll walk you through. And usually it's going to keep the name that you typed in. That's the objective. If you typed the item name here, it's going to keep that name. The first question it's ask you is this an hourly item, an annual item, a bonus, or a commission? Then it goes into regular and overtime and sick or vacation. And after that, it will say, okay, so you want to use this name? It'll give you a chance. Maybe you made a typo. You'll review the item name. And then it'll tell you, you're using this for payroll expenses. Yes. Okay, and then you're done. You skip all the tax, Mr. Gass over there. So try that now. Go, if you are typing in a name.
okay, I have that 26. Now, hold on. Now, if I hit okay now, what do you
Yeah.
get? I'm at that next screen.
I'm out of it, right? You back to here? You back to the employee center?
No, what I get on my screen is add new payroll item salary. Name used in paychecks and payroll reports. Enter name for salary item. For example, track officer salaries, you may want to call it officer salary.
You're right now in Yaakov or in Pinchas?
I'm in the one with the 26 Yaakov
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. I'm going to create. All right. So I'm going to create again a new item. Let's say, I'm going to put in wages just for. I'm going to type it. I'm going to. Okay. I can't overwrite what's there. I already set them up as payroll salary. I could create a new item that I could do. I could choose clerical. Let's say if I change him to clerical, he could be clerical with 26. Okay, because we already set that his salary is 26. That number is not going to change unless you change the number.
Okay, so let's.
Now, I can't overwrite what's there. I could select something else. I could create new. So I'll create something new. Okay, what's new? I'm creating hourly, regular. Actually, no. It wasn't hourly. We said we're doing annual, right? And the wages.
Yeah.
That's a standard. When you employ, it's called wages. But then they break it down further. So in wages itself, there's hourly wages or annual salary. Then you go to regular pay.
Okay.
And then we enter a name. So here's you enter the name that you want a name. So you could just type word salary. If you didn't, or officer salary, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, that's what I'm saying to you. That's the box I got.
Yeah, okay, fine. So
it won't take salary. I have to do office.
No, you can write salary.
You can? Hold on, I'll do it and we'll
You
see.
can write whatever you want, unless you have that in there already.
No, I'm typing it now.
Yeah, sure.
It comes up payroll expense.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, and then I hit finish.
Finish, yeah.
Oh, so now it got me out of the return. Okay, perfect.
And now if you go to write a check, it's going to automatically give you a perfectly $1,000 check because that's what I use a number which would be simple to work with. $26,000, 26 payrolls. Okay, it's $1,000 check. That's what you should come up when you go you go to employees, pay employees.
Okay, 1 second. I have to go ahead. Employees back.
Yeah, employees, pay employees. Whatever you get there.
1 second. Employees. And then I hit payroll.
No, employees, pay employees. This thing called pay employees. Drop
I
down.
don't have it. Employees has employee center, enter time and payroll.
1 second. You have employee center, you have payroll center, you have enter time, and then under that you have pay employees.
I just have employee center, then enter time.
Right. And what do you have under that?
Enter time payroll. And then guide to hiring employees and HR essential and insurance.
So did you activate payroll?
No,
So it's interesting. So how did you? Okay, that's that's important. Well, that's why you can't do what I'm doing. So we were able to create, like we did for the person, we could create an employee, we'll create a salary, and we created timesheets which bring us invoice, but you can't create checks until you have employees. So you didn't do any checks with Pinchas, right?
no.
Right. Okay. So that's basically what I was doing. You could do the setup that they'll let you do, but they won't let you make the checks.
Right. I want, yeah.
Right. So, when I do a run through, I show you if I go to pay employees now, and I choose Yaakov,
They'll give you the checks.
and I go another paycheck exists. It says Yaakov has a check dated 6/3, which is on or after new check 6/3. Even though the pay period, which you see on my screen, if you can see, it says 6/17. I never changed the check date. So I'm going to escape from this. Find existing paychecks. Well, find me the check and tell me you can print it. But the check is $1,000 check. I'm gonna
do that.
It's just 923 because of withholdings.
Okay, I can't do that. So that's,
Right.
I have to stop at my point here.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, that's on something else. Let me see what other people have questions
Oh, so
here.
one more question, if I can ask. So remember when we had to do that payroll sheet for the $75?
Right.
Could I have done that? Because I didn't
Yeah,
catch.
for sure. No, like I said, the employee could create a timesheet which will enable you to make an invoice off that. That's what we did. Employee made his timesheet 5 days, which was
How do I go to do that?
that was steps.
I know, but I was stuck at that. I couldn't
Okay.
get,
So, well, again, did you create the timesheet ever?
in my life? No.
No, okay. If you go in the employees,
Yeah,
enter time, use weekly timesheets.
enter time, activate T-sheets.
No, underneath the use weekly timesheets.
Did do that. Okay, let me go back.
That you could go into, and you go back, we'll do it simple for you. You go, now already I have a drop down of several employees. You're using Pinchas for that. But you set them up with the $40 as PRH that you did do?
Yes, the beginning part, but I didn't.
Okay, fine.
The
Okay, so just pick the
where
week.
the $75 comes into play.
1 second. Before the $75, did you go to the week of May 25 to May 31?
That's where I'm up to.
Yeah. Did you enter in the timesheet 1111? Did you enter that?
No.
So
So
this is actually probably tells Shoshana the reason why it's in 2 lines. It separates what's billed from what's not billed. So the one that has a check, it's still billable. I didn't bill it out. That's why that will leave me still $75 to bill. The ones that are on the second line, it's already billed. So in your case, you have to put in on 25, 26, 27, 28, and 31. Put a 1 in each line, in each one.
Okay, wait a second. How did you get there? You hit employee center
Oh,
at the time.
okay. So let's do again. If you were highlighted on Pinchas, right? If you were on him,
I should highlight Pinchas, okay?
yeah. If you highlighted him, then you go to employees, enter time,
Hold on, employees,
enter time.
nothing. Oh, employees on top,
Yeah.
enter time.
And use weekly timesheet. It'll bring you directly to Pinchas timesheet.
I have Almoni Pony.
1 second. So type P. Just type the word, the letter P.
Address, excuse me, customers Almoni Pony.
Right, of course.
Okay, so I have Pinchas address. I have, but mine comes, first, second, third, fourth is one.
Okay, so just go arrow, go arrow back where it says previous. Right on top of the word
yeah,
timesheet.
Got it,
Go previous. Take
Yeah.
the week of May 25 to 31.
got it.
Okay, don't fill it out the way I have it in 2 lines. Fill it out on 1 line. Do on the 25th, put 1. The 26th, put 1.
Hold on 1 second, 25th, 1,
27, 1.
26. Oh, okay, 27, 1.
28, 1.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. It comes out as, okay, 1.0, okay.
Yeah, it's an hour.
Yeah,
And then on the 31st, put another 1.
I have 25 through 28.
25, 28, and then add 1 on the 31st.
Okay. I have 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, I'm skipping,
Skip 29 and 30. It was Shavuos, Friday and Shabbos.
of course. All right, and I have Sunday the 31st.
Yeah.
I have 4 here, total 4.
That's 5.
I know, why do I have total?
It's 4 plus 1.
I know that.
25, 26,
Oh,
27,
I'm an
28.
idiot. Okay, this employee is also set to have activities transferred.
Okay, 1 second. Now wait, you selected Almoni as a customer. You had service item WD. You had PRH as payroll item, right?
I got erased once I started to fill this out.
Okay, so go make sure you have Almoni Ploni as a customer.
How do I get it as a customer?
Just type it.
I have to retype it, it won't.
You just type AL and it'll come there.
Okay, it's coming up. Okay, and then in service, I have to drop down to WD, right? And then
Yeah.
payroll.
Payroll's PRH.
I know, it won't let me. It says the payroll item is not set up for this employee. It has 0 rate.
1 second. You told me you set him up for $40, did you?
I thought
Just let's see if you can do this way. Just anyway, you have Almoni Ploni WD PRH, right?
I won't let me, payroll line won't let me put PRH in it.
You don't have a PRH there? It says PRH is 0?
Yeah.
And
Every
let's
time it just tells me it won't give me,
okay, and let's assume it's 0. What's the problem? You can't use a 0 number?
QuickBooks will use a 0 rate for this time entry on the employee's paycheck unless you edit this employee and assign a
Okay.
rate.
Okay, right, okay, so that's it. You have to go back to Employee Center.
Okay.
Pinchas
But
Tadris,
it's still clicking. Employee
Employee
Center.
Pinchas, Payroll Info.
Hold
And
on.
what do you have by the PRH?
Employee,
In Pinchas Tadris, in the Payroll Info, what do you have on the PRH?
I can't get in there.
Edit them. Yeah, you have the edit. You know how to edit employees, right?
After you hit Employee Center, you have payroll.
Okay. You have the icons. You have the employee icon.
Yeah, I'm in employees.
Yeah, you have the Pinchas Tadris highlighted.
No, yeah, it's highlighted.
Good. Now press this pencil, which is edit.
Hits edit.
Here's edit. You have to edit the employee.
Yeah. Edit employee, Control E.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. And now you go Payroll Info.
Got it.
Tab.
Payroll employee is blank.
Well, okay. We can only build on what we did. If you have PRH 40, then you can go to the next step, which is the timesheet.
Okay, so now I got PRH. Okay. Because that's where I got stuck.
Right. That's okay.
Okay, that's where I got stuck from
Now,
you.
do you have a check? Do you have a check mark over here? Use data to create paychecks. Do you have that?
Yeah, where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you pointing? Oh, yes, I have.
Okay, that's important. That
Yes,
will
I have
give
to
you
check.
enable to do the WD there.
Right, I have that checked.
Okay. Now you have to press OK. So
Gotcha.
now you have PRH at 40. Now you go back to To the timesheet.
Okay, which is employee, payroll,
No, you go into employees, enter time,
enter
use
time.
weekly timesheet.
Okay, enter time, use weekly time sheet. Okay, it's here. Thank you very much.
Now now you could do what we did.
I have
You put
5.
you have 5. You put in the PRH.
Yes.
Good. You can press save and close.
Save and new or save and close?
Save and close. So we're doing one invoice. Good. Now, if
Okay.
you click on income tracker, you
Okay.
see on the bottom you have a money plony time and expense for 375.
Where's income tractor?
It's a icon over here in the center.
I know, I'm looking for it. Bill tracker, income tracker.
Yeah.
Okay, got income tracker. Yes,
You see our money plony in the bottom for 375.
correct.
Good. Now you're gonna go to the right tab where it says select, and you go to choose billable.
All the way down on the bottom,
On the right side, only on the right side. You're on the bottom. You're going to the right side of that line.
it says choose billables.
Yeah. And you go into it. You're gonna highlight the top 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hold on. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, correct. So
No, you have 5. You can only choose. You're gonna select 4 of
just
them.
check the first 4.
Yeah.
Leave 31st alone.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Hit okay.
Okay. And now you're gonna see that it's gonna split. They'll put our money plenty at the top for 300. Now it's gonna have a due date for an invoice because you made an invoice. On the bottom, you still have 75 left to bill.
Now, from the invoice, it's save and new or save and close?
Even close. You want to get back to the income tracker page.
Okay, now it says information missing. You have marked this form to be emailed. How did I do email?
Oh yeah, because that's by default. So press escape a second. On the invoice on the top, you have 2 choices in the center, to print or to email. Now, email is the best way. When you have customers, you will want to email them. It gets out faster.
Correct.
In this case,
We don't have his email.
you don't have his email, so you'll just uncheck it, and you'll print it out and give it to him when you see him.
Okay, print later, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, now save and close.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I have 75 is still open on the bottom. and-
Yeah, we never build them for it. We only build them on the top. You have invoice of 300. So
Right.
that's all.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You get an A++.
We'll send out the surveys.
Okay, you got mine. You know what my answer is.
Okay, let's
Thank you, thank you.
you're welcome. Anyone else have a question? Raise your hand and we'll let you talk. I'll look again at the Q&A. If anyone has a question, let's see here. Mhm. 3122. Okay, so I'm looking at the Q&A, and someone wrote they're off. They have the right income, but the total income is 3122. Okay. So it's probably the same thing. There's an issue with we had this other day with the guy by is $320 something $9 maybe. You have to check $339 if you made him a negative COGS or not. If Shoshana Steuben is still around, you could verify that. Double check in your inventory item for the McGill for MR. What is the income? Okay, you don't have to, if whoever asked, you don't have to activate payroll. I activated it, I was Yitzhak, and I showed you the demonstration. Most likely in your office you won't have it. If you do, we'll figure it out. Okay. Let's back to one more time. Back to participants. Okay, so it seems like no one has a question. So good evening, and we'll see you, Mr. Hashem, on Monday, and we'll get out to you the handout for that date. Take care.